Good morning. We will pay attention to consumable stores available at the end of the financial year. The following information is available at the end of April 2015. So there is stationery in the trial balance that is worth 870 Rand. So in my stationery account, I have a balance of 870. That means that every time we bought stationery, we debited stationery, credited bank, debited stationery, credited creditors control. So according to us, the total expense at the end of the year is 870. Then they tell us that we've only consumed stationery worth 768. That means we didn't use all the stationery that we had available. The amount that will go to the profit and loss account is the total expense for the current year. And that what we used is our expense for the year. If I take the 870 and I subtract the 768 from it, the balancing figure is 102. So that is the consumable stores that we've got left over at the end of the year. So I will credit my stationery account to reduce my expense, and I will debit consumable stores on hand to increase my asset. So consumable stores on hand is debited to create an asset. Stationery is credited to reduce the expense. This account is only valid for 1 day. So on the first day of the next financial year, we have to do a reverse entry for this consumable stores on hand. We have a balance on the debit side of 102. So if we want to close down this account, we have to credit consumable stores on hand with 102 Rand, and we will debit stationery with 102. So that means we did a reverse entry of what we did originally. So this was our original entry, and then on the first day of the next financial year, we reverse that entry. Now if we look at the stationery account, we can see that there's a balance of 102. So in the second year, we already start with the expense of 102 Rand. To complete the reverse entry, we will debit stationery to increase the expense for the second year, and we will close our consumable stores on hand with the 102 Rand. So what did we learn today? That if there is consumable stores left over at the end of the year, we must create an asset, and this asset will be recorded in the balance sheet. At the end of the financial year, you will always determine if there's any stationery, packing material, petrol, oil, cleaning materials left over. And what's left over, you will reduce your expense so that you will take the actual expense to your profit and loss account and not the total figure if there's any of this left over. And you will create an asset to show that all this stationery was not used, and the stationery that's on hand at the end of the year is the asset that I will carry over to the next financial year.